I'm Stefan Steiner. My guest today is Wulf, co-founder of greenTEG. Welcome, Wulf. Please tell us who you are.
Hi, everybody. I'm Wulf, CEO and founder of greenTEG. greenTEG is a thermal sensor company. We develop and produce thermal sensing solutions for industrial applications, medical devices, and also consumer wearables.
So we are celebrating this year 20 years of Venture Leaders. You traveled with the Venture Leaders in 2014 to China. Why China?
First of all, congratulations. And yeah, we are happy to be part of that journey and very much benefited from all the offers of Venture Lab. China already in 2014 was a big, or the second biggest economy. I think it was that year that is like for purchasing power parity is even the biggest economy. We realized it will be important for a global player to understand that market.
So how did greenTEG benefit from that roadshow understanding the Chinese market?
Mainly to really get a grasp of the dimension and the dynamics of that market. We learned, or I personally learned about Chinese cultures, the way they think, the way they do business. And I think this was very, very helpful to understand this very important market.
You mentioned doing business in China is different. Can you tell us or the listeners anything that you would say also future entrepreneurs need to know doing business in China?
Yes, China is very competitive, but at the same time, this has also a lot of advantages. It's a very fast market. Usually, players or customers from that market, they're quite demanding, but they're also moving faster, and that's always positive for young companies. They're also quite pragmatic. So whenever they need a solution, they're also willing to source that solution. They will not source anything unnecessary, which they can do better. But if you have a piece they need, then they're good business partners.
At that time, your customers were research organizations. Today, you have many sport athletes as customers. What a pivot from your original idea.
Yeah, that's true. Back then, we were still a pure B2B company. I remember I already had the idea in the pitch in China that we would be measuring core body temperature, which we now do for athletes, but it took us quite more time and also more courage and some inspiration to really launch our own wearable, which is the core. It's the first and still only sensor that measures an athlete's core body temperature in real time. And yeah, this is how we entered a direct-to-consumer business. And it's very exciting that we now support Olympians, world champions, record holders, and see them in all the competitions, Olympics and World Cups.
I saw on your slides from back then you already had a watch on it, and now it's a wearable. That's great. What was the exact moment you knew your startup had to expand beyond Switzerland to truly scale?
It was probably already day one when we founded the company. It was clear that we had sensors and Switzerland is too small of a market. So it was clear from the very first day that we would have to sell globally. Our first customer was in Germany. So yeah, we sold outside Switzerland before we sold our first product to Swiss customers.
Excellent. What did international customers then understand about your product that you didn't expect?
Yeah, here maybe I can share a story. We work, among others, with the Norwegian triathlon team and their coach, Olaf Alexander Bu. When he first heard about our product, he was immediately excited. Because he believed that we had the right approach to measure core temperature, but also because he's very interested in the general energy balance of an athlete. So how much energy is going in through nutrition and how much of that energy is then used to be fast. And nowadays, only that mechanical part, like how fast we get, how much of the energy we eat or take in is converted to mechanical output, so running or cycling or swimming. And that part is measured, but it's only 20% of the overall energy. And with our approach, we actually measure the other 80%. And while we do that, that allows us either to be 4 times more accurate because it's a 4 times bigger part, or we could even afford to be 4 times less accurate to get to the same result. So yeah, I mean, we had ideas in this direction before, but yeah, he was making clear that it's interesting for athletes, and so that's give us more motivation to continue on that path.
So direct customer feedback to bring your product or even focus more for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is another part. We now have direct feedback from customers that have to use our products, and they are very direct. So yeah, working with the end users has advantages, but it's brutal in terms of feedback. They're very direct.
What was the hardest part scaling international?
I think to really get the sales channels up and working. So yeah, you can have the best product, but if you don't have either a good marketing to let everybody know or to have the right salesperson to let at least your customers or companies know, you won't be successful.
You mentioned you're already working with Olympic teams and athletes. So what's next for greenTEG?
What we learned by launching this product, we saw a lot of interest from other fields. And one of the fields was, for example, firefighters or defense organizations who were interested in measuring core temperature of workers or soldiers. We've taken this up and now we're preparing to launch our own work safety product, which will launch this year. It's called Core Arcs. And yeah, we're exciting to offer a solution that will help exposed workers in hot environment to stay safe and stay productive.
That sounds fantastic. Health safety, a big topic. Thank you very much for these insights. My last question would be, what is your biggest advice for a young person leaving university in 2026?
I would say it's really important to understand value creation. So, what is the value that your company creates for their customer? If you work for a company, what is the value you create for your company? If you understand that and if you have that in mind, you can position yourself to make a career as an employee, but also to have the option to become an entrepreneur. And if you have a great idea, go and give it a shot. If you're not sure yet, try to work for a young company and learn as much as you can and then take a shot. But I can only encourage you to think entrepreneurial. It might not be everybody's choice. Understanding the dynamics and the value creation part will help you even if you want to prefer to stay a regular employee.
Entrepreneurship as a career path. That's a great closing of our discussion. Thank you much, Wulf, for your time and for sharing all your insights. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Stefan, and all the best for eventual.
Thank you very much.